distinguished engineers and esteemed delegates engineers, academicians, and consultant engineers from various ASEC member countries. I am Engineer Sanjay Kumar Shah, executive member and member secretary of Technical Committee of the Nepal Engineers Association. It is my great honor to extend a warm welcome and sincere greeting to you all to this technical session titled From Ruins to Resilience, Gorkha Earthquake 2015. In this session, I would like to warmly welcome the session chair for this session, the Chief Executive Officer of Investment Board Nepal, Mr. Sushil Gawali sir, and respectfully request him to kindly take his seat on the dais. He previously served as Chief Executive Officer of the National Reconstruction Authority and as a member of the National Planning Commission. Second one, sir, second one. Now, I would like to warmly welcome the keynote speaker, Dr. Jitendra Bothra. He will be virtually available in this session. Dr. Bothra, a fellow of Nepal Engineers Association, Engineering New Zealand and New Zealand Society for Earthquake Engineering, is an internationally recognized earthquake engineer with over 30 years of experience in disaster risk reduction, post-earthquake recovery, and seismic safety. Now, I would like to warmly welcome Mr. Kiran Acharya as second keynote speaker and respectfully request him to kindly take his seat on the dais. Mr. Acharya is a highly experienced structural engineer with over 15 years of experience in industry and research across US, Philippines, Brunei, Thailand, Bangladesh, India, and Nepal. Previously, he worked as consultant to Latin India contractors overseeing premium residential projects like the Camellia in Gurgaon and AIT Solutions, Thailand. He conducted performance-based design reviews, researched precast and modular housing systems, developed E-types steel connection tools, and contributed significantly to Nepal's safe school building retrofit program under Asian Development Bank's supported SSRP. Now, I would like to warmly welcome Dr. Ramesh Guragai as panelist and respectfully request him to kindly take his seat on the dais. Dr. Guragai is currently working as a consultant to University College of London and Global Facility for Disaster Risk Reduction and Recovery, the World Bank. Previously, he served as Deputy Executive Director at National Society for Earthquake Technology, Nepal, NSET, and has a PhD on earthquake engineering from University of Tokyo. Now, I would like to warmly welcome Professor Dr. Gokan Bahadur Motra as panelist and respectfully request him to kindly take his seat on dais. Professor Motra retired from Pulchok campus, IOE, just last year after serving a duration about 34 years. He received his PhD in civil engineering from IIT Bombay. His research interests include seismic resistant design and construction, structural vibration and energy dissipation systems. He was the coordinator of vulnerability assessment of infrastructure after 2015 Gorkha, Nepal earthquake, formed by Institute of Engineering. As a team leader, he carried out vulnerability assessment of many monumental buildings, retrofit design, and supervised the execution works of some of them. Now, I would like to invite Engineer Liva Shrestha as panelist and respectfully request her to kindly take her seat on dais. She is a structural engineer with nearly 2 decades of experience advancing earthquake resilient and climate smart construction across Nepal and the Asia Pacific region. She currently serves as the Director of Program and Engineering Lead for Asia and Pacific at Build Change, where she oversees regional strategy, technical leadership, and the scaling of resilient housing and public infrastructure solutions. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Resma Shrestha as moderator of the session. Dr. Resma Shrestha is an associate professor under School of Engineering at Kathmandu University. She holds a PhD degree from Faculty of Geoinformation Science and Earth Observation, University of Twente, Netherlands, and has more than 15 years of experience in the academic field. She is an active member of Women Scientists Forum Nepal within Nepal Academy for Science and Technology (NAST), a board member of Nepal Engineering Council, and expert member of the Federal Land Use Council. Now, I would like to hand over the platform to Dr. Resma Shrestha to proceed the session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to thank you, Nepal Engineering Association, for providing me this opportunity as a moderator for this very important session, from ruins to resilience, Gorkha earthquake. Basically, experience from Gorkha earthquake. So now, as a moderator, my key role will be facilitating this whole session, and also I'm very aware of this timing, where I'll be late, that I'm aware of that one. Basically, our session is total, it's for 90 minutes, and first I would like to start with opening session from our chair, Sushil sir, to have opening remarks. Then we'll start with our 2 key presentation. So, sir, the floor is yours. I think it's okay to be there, sir.
Thank you, Resma ji. Session Chair, President of Nepal Engineers Association, the former President and all the colleagues, the family members of Nepal Engineers Association, distinguished guests, our panelists, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and also a pleasure for me to participate in this very important the program that was organized by Nepal Engineers Association. And one of the important topic of this session is from ruins to resilience, the experiences of Gorkha earthquake. Yeah, that is one of the very important and relevant session that is being organized by Nepal Engineers Association. First of all, I would like to thank to the organizer for having this very important the topic that is being discussed today in this session. If you see the structure of the panelists here, that the mostly will be focusing, I think, on the engineering component mainly, but that is also interrelated to the social, political, and economic dimensions of the earthquake, this reconstruction and recovery that we did together. This in the aftermath of the 2015 Gorkha earthquake. Actually, I also would like to congratulate to the engineering community. I had a privilege to lead this, the National Reconstruction Authority, which was established after the earthquake, almost after 8 months, it was established under the chair of the Prime Minister, and we are having the very high-level committee on that, so that we'll be able to have the fast-tracking of the decision-making process, and also the special law and the act was enacted at that time. And then at this time, we, all the engineering community and also all Nepalese, that we are proud to say and mention that to the entire the world, and also to our people, that we had been able to complete that sort of massive sort of the task that we had, the huge level of the engineering sort of the recovery and reconstruction, that the work that we had to do, we did that. And the Nepal showed that level of the capacity that we had. And this, at that time, I would like to recall that one of the major role was from the engineering community. I recall that at that time, almost more than 6,000 of the engineers, they were mobilized at that time. And it was the largest number of the engineering communities that were mobilized in our country during the time of any sort of the program in that scale that we had been able to do. So, and also we would like to proudly mention that whatever at that time we came up with the slogan that we will be having the build back better. One of the component was the safety. And then we are also at the moment also proud to announce also that almost more than 95% of the total houses were at that time by the evaluating or the validating even by the third party appointed by the World Bank at that time, we had been able to have the earthquake resilient buildings. And then certain corrections that we had to do for the rest 5% of the total houses, we also did that with a special standard that we did. So this is the time today that we'll be recalling back what we did, what went well, where are the area that we have to, could have been improved more. So those areas that we'll be discussing today. These 2-3 points that I would like to mention at the moment, that one area actually at the time that we did, actually this one of the largest sort of this the recovery program that was launched in the world. Yeah, that was in that scale that we did. And then that was started at the time that this, from the engineering point of view, that we did the housing sort of this the survey that we did. And then first of all, one of the challenge that we had, that what is the actual sort of the situation at that time on those houses, what are the engineering fault that we had, which can be fixed later on, that we did through the largest, the housing recovery, the survey that we did through the digital system. Just before we did the BEAM sort of the session just now, that we had that sort of this information technology was one of the key that we did apply that, and then which was one of the major sort of the backbone for the success of the housing reconstruction. And then for this, the overall sort of the engineering sort of the survey that we did through the digital system. Later on, we found that what is the root cause for that, and then later on that basis, we came up with the different level of designs, the standard designs for that. Though there is a flexibility on the designs by any the household they could do on their own, but the certain norms and the standards are to be followed, and we did that. And then we mobilized the whole engineering community. At that time, we not only took the engineering as only a key, but at the same time, we also give a due consideration on the social dimension, political dimension, economic dimension, and then through this approach, this housing reconstruction recovery program was launched. So I will not take much time. I would like to, this request to all the participants to actively participate in this program. And then again, thank to the organizer for giving me an opportunity for chairing these sessions. Thank you so much. And then later on after the final, that I will also be, whatever the conclusion, I will also come up again to you. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your very wonderful experience. It's a very much kind of asset for the whole country, I believe. So now I would like to, without any delay, I would like to call upon for our keynote speaker. Now the first keynote speaker is, it's on online because he's in New Zealand. So Dr. Jitendra Bohra sir, I think he's already online with us. He's going to have his presentation.
Hello.
Namaste, sir. Jitendra, sir.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Yes.
Uh,
Repeat.
are we audible? सुनिराख्नु भएको छ है, sir?
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sir,
So we welcome you in this session. So without any delay, I would like to request you to start to give your key presentations. Thank you, sir.
Presentation देखिन्छ?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's start. Namaste, Kiora, and good evening, or should I say good night, because it's already 11 o'clock here in New Zealand, or 11:30. Thank you for the kind introduction, and thanks to the Nepal Engineers Association for inviting me to deliver a keynote speech. Thank you for the honor. In my today's presentation, I will be talking about seismic safety as a public good and why we should consider it as a public good. That will be focus of my presentation. But the important thing is, to me, to have sustainable seismic safety, we must link science, tools, and delivery systems. And I will take example of Nepal earthquake recovery as I present. To me, and the experience shows that the current seismic safety issue is not only knowledge. It is not driven by knowledge, but how it reaches people. And it is a very important because there is no lack of knowledge and science. The problem is it is not reaching people. So if you look at the context, in last 1 century or so, there have been significant advances in science and engineering. We now understand much better about earthquake, its phenomenon, how it does work. And we know the engineering. We have tools and codes. And tools, if you think of the softwares and the computer, we can practically model any building structure to understand how a building will behave. We have fantastic building codes now around the world and beautiful, very powerful standards as well. But the unfortunate fact is the seismic risk is not reducing as it should have in developing countries, including Nepal. In developed countries, the risk has significantly reduced. Death and destruction has significantly reduced. This is not the same case in developing countries. Think of Nepal earthquake. More than 700,000 houses were damaged or destroyed, and approximately 9,000 people were killed. But think of Pakistan earthquake, 2005, where 80,000 people were killed, out of that 1,900 were children. So what is the problem? Pakistan has building code for last maybe 50 years or so. They have very capable engineers. But why seismic risk could not be reduced? Same in Nepal. We have building code for last more than 30 years. Why still 700,000 houses were damaged or destroyed? And why 9,000 people were killed? And we need to think it carefully. Where is the problem? The problem is in mismatch. our building production system or building procurement system is very informal or semi-formal. It's basically the characteristic, if you look at our building system, is owner-driven. It's incremental. Our houses grow vertically and horizontally both over the time. Our decisions are very decentralized. The craftspeople make the decision, not the engineer. And we use local materials and skills. But even if modern materials such as steel or cement and rebars have been used, reinforcing bar has been used, still our whole production mechanism is informal. But we are trying to improve seismic safety through formal procurement and control, which hardly produces less than 10% buildings. So it doesn't work. There's a major mismatch between our building procurement production system and the process we want to enforce to control building system to improve building safety. And it is not working. And it will not work. So I think building safety should be looked at as public good. Because the impact of disaster, including earthquake, is not because of an individual's behavior. It is because of the societal behavior. And its impact has to be borne by society, not individual. So for example, look at 2015 earthquake. We have 9,000 deaths and in them far more injuries. There are significant displacement, disruption, reconstruction and recovery costs were there. But it was not borne by only the victims, earthquake victims. It was borne by the society, whole nation, not only whole nation. It was even borne by the international community. What it indicates is it's a shared societal responsibility. So we need to look at seismic safety as shared societal responsibility, which is a characteristic of public good. The moment we accept it as a public good, like clean water, like education, or like medical facility, healthcare, immediately our governance structure will change. And it becomes responsibility of the society to improve seismic safety. We need to look this from public health framework. When I say public health framework, I'm not talking about metaphor. I'm talking about operational model. So public health model looks at prevention over perfection. For example, vaccination. So it looks at how to prevent the disease that is to happen. It looks at the population, not individual person. And it is implemented through last mile actors. We can do exactly the same if you look from building perspective. So rather than public health framework, we can call it building health framework. And then we look at prevention rather than perfection. Because when we talk about single building-centric approach, one building at a time, we are looking at perfection. I am not rejecting perfection. It is a more applicable in the urban environment and important buildings or building structures. But when we talk about 90% of Nepalese buildings, which are very simple, 1 to 2 story high, why we need to customize design for each and why we need to perfect it. So we should be thinking of prevention. And we should be looking at hundreds of thousands of houses at a time, not one house at a time. And it has to be implemented through last mile actors like carpenters and bar vendors, small contractors, technicians, and even engineers. So who work as building vaccinator, who deliver message to the house owner. So there is a parallel between public health and building health framework. And we need to think it carefully how we can do this. And we have done this after 2015 earthquake for recovery. So the seismic safety is a public health problem because it is not a single building problem. Like vaccine, it works through coverage. And we achieved recovery and reconstruction after 2015 earthquake because we improved our coverage. And that's why we were able to construct or reconstruct more than 600,000 houses and better houses. What makes prevention work? We have to simplify our solutions. Think of polio vaccine. There is a simple message, 2 drops at a time. And these drops have to be given 5 times in children's life. It may be 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 18 weeks, or something like that, at 3 years and 5 years. And the job is done. Had this method was not simplified, many of us sitting in this audience would have been disabled because of polio. Our children would have been disabled because of polio. Because of this simple method, the whole process worked. We have to improve coverage, same like vaccine. And reliable implementation is a very important. Same thing, it works for seismic safety. We have to simplify our message. Again, take one more example of Jivan Jal or Noon Chini Pani. How simple is that? But it saves human life. And why we need electrolyte then? If the Noon Chini Pani works, and it can save humans' lives. So same thing can happen to buildings. If 5 solutions improves our building stock by 60% or 80%, why we need to make perfect? Of course, we need to think perfection when we think of important buildings and urban setting. But a small building, 5 measures will solve the problem, most of the problem. Then we need to think of these 5 simple solutions which can be easily implemented through coverage. Other thing I would like to highlight, the vaccinator came to my home 5 decades back, convinced my parents, and I was vaccinated for smallpox. And that's why I am able to talk to you today on this platform. Had that vaccinator didn't come to my home, not convinced my parents, and had I not been vaccinated, I'm not sure I would be here to talk to you today. I would have been dead by age of 10 because of smallpox. And maybe statistically, 1/3 of the population, the audience in this hall, would not have been alive. And the half of the alive would have pock marks on their face. The vaccination, smallpox vaccination worked because the vaccinator came to my home. Same, the building vaccinators or the last mile vector has to go to the house owner, as we did after the 2015 earthquake for recovery. The socio-technical advisors went to the house owner to advise him. And we have to do that. Nobody is to come to me as an engineer unless it is a special building. So how we calibrate it? What we have to do? So we have to calibrate our seismic safety solution to the population, how population can implement it. Just by increasing the seismic demand and improving requirements, the situation is unlikely to improve. It will improve once we calibrate our solution to population, increase our coverage, as which we did after 2015 earthquake, and the result we know. We increase our technical effectiveness through simplifying the solutions, the building solutions. We simplified. We implemented. To implement, we trained thousands and thousands of people, engineers, carpenters, bar benders, masons, technicians, to improve efficiency of implementation. And through them, we deliver the message to people, and we know the outcome. Now, in Nepal, more than 600,000 buildings are much better, resilient buildings. And we did it through population calibration. We didn't look at single building. We looked at the mass of the building. Of course, we have to think of the delivery constraints, population, people, process. But of course, we handle them and delivered it. So it is important to calibrate the solution to the population. I look seismic safety as a chain. At one end, we have science. At the other end, we have the house owner. Until we are able to link them, seismic safety unlikely to happen. And in our case, we have science, we have engineering, but we don't have enough simple rules that meets our building typology. Training and facilitation doesn't exist. We are lucky. And we started in training in 1998 when I was at NSET. And then we delivered to thousands and thousands of people after 2015 earthquake. It worked very well. Unfortunately, we couldn't institutionalize such a beautiful system. We failed here. Our construction practices are weak. So once these links are weak, seismic safety cannot be delivered to the end user. And we all understand the strength of chain depends on the weakest link. If you want to improve the situation, we must improve the links and fill in the gaps. What we have to do? We have to simplify the message. And to simplify the message, we have to do more research. It is not that we don't have enough research, but we have to simplify the message now and reduce the work. So of course we need tools. And I'm very lucky to be part of this installment of SOC table at Pulchok campus at Institute of Engineering in Pulchok. Thanks to UNDP for investing on this. And what it does, it makes behavior visible, the building behavior, supports development of simple methods, and build confidence. So we constructed this table and tested 2 buildings and how it works. Let's see how beautiful it is. Here are 2 buildings, both constructed in stone in mud mortar. One is strengthened with very simple measures, just bands and containment wires on the right, on the left. On the right is unreinforced building, as we construct every day. Then we tested it. Think the measures to retrofit buildings are very simple, just tying everything together. And then we tested. It's the 7th shock, I guess. And see how it worked. And you see the damage and destruction to the building. We did more testing. Same building, 10th shock. Look at the performance of unretrofitted building and compare it with retrofitted building. Anybody inside this unretrofitted building would have been dead by now. Whereas the retrofitted building has hardly suffered much damage. With very simple measures, just few bands, tying up everything together worked very well. So why we can't implement this simple solution to improve seismic safety of our community? But that to happen, we have to change the role of engineers and technicians. Our current whole paradigm is based on building-centric approach, one building at a time, where engineer is simple designer of one building. Now it compared with public health officer or a public health expert who is not thinking of one building at a time. A doctor, a specialist doctor, thinks about one patient at a time. Whereas if you look at public health expert, he's not looking at one building, one patient at a time. He's looking at hundreds of thousands or millions of people at a time and how to prevent a particular disease. So the role of engineer or technicians has to change. Maybe it will develop over time. Same like from doctors became over the time they became public health expert. Maybe engineers one day become building health expert, and their role would be simplify technical knowledge. And that's what we did after 2015 earthquake. We developed simplified guidelines, and that's the role of engineer, and that should be train local tradespeople, small contractors, focus on delivery, impact, and scalability, because we are talking about hundreds and thousands of houses, not one or two or 10 houses. So of course, scale is very important. We have to improve delivery system, training, facilitation, and we have to develop like vaccinator. We need to think of building vaccinators. But we thought most important thing is to institutionalize the whole process. And that's where we are lacking. Engineers create knowledge, but delivery creates impact. But what to do with knowledge if it cannot be delivered to people and people's life can be saved? And the experience shows building code do not build safer buildings. The delivery does. And we achieved the goal after 2015 earthquake because we delivered. So implication is we need to link all the systems, science, tools, methods, delivery, people. We need to connect them together. We need to support everyday construction. And the most important thing is we have to prioritize coverage over perfection. When I again would like to emphasize, I'm not saying there should not be customized design for buildings or building centric approach is wrong. What I'm saying is 90% of our buildings are small buildings. Why we need to customize? We can develop simple rules, connect the links, dots, and improve coverage for the average buildings. And then for specific buildings in urban setting, we should have different rules. So I'm talking about tiered approach. So let's look at evidence from 2015 earthquake. It was honor-built reconstruction, extensive training and facilitation programs, and large-scale adoption of safer practices. And we worked on delivery-based model. That's why we were able to construct or reconstruct, I would say, more than 600,000 houses. It is not because of customized design. And I'm very fortunate or privileged to mention here, I worked after 2022 flood in Pakistan for recovery of buildings after the flood. Because of the delivery-based model we adopted, which I talked about just now. By February this year, in 2.5 years, we ended up construction of 850,000 houses. So think of the scale, and we can do in normal time, not only in recovery time. The unfortunate fact of 2015 earthquake is, despite such a successful model we had, an implementation of model which delivered, we couldn't institutionalize it. And we are going back to normal. And the experience shows the moment things are not institutionalized, the message will diffuse. And the achievement we had will disappear over the time because people will keep constructing unsafe buildings. So the take-home message is, we do not have science problem. We have enough science. So it may not be perfect, but we have enough to deliver, address the situation. The major problem we have is delivery problem and the institutionalized of delivery problem. A lot of trainings are being delivered, but they are sporadic, they are fragmented, they are not institutionalized. And when I say public health model, I'm not talking about, again, I will emphasize, I'm not talking about metaphor. I'm talking about operational model where there's a whole structure. So we need to think of public health structure in public good framework. And without delivery system, impact remains limited. Maybe few buildings can be improved, but not seismic safety at scale. So with this note, I would like to say thank you, and if you have any question, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you for such a wonderful, eye-opening keynote message. Basically, taking a metaphor of public health framework and translating that into building health framework is a very eye-opening message to everybody, and to see building as a own health and taking care of buildings is a very important message from your side. And with this, so since you are in online, I think it's better to have some questions from the audience. So I would like to have 2 questions from audience at the moment, because your presentation is on time. It's almost 20 minutes, which is allocated for. So 2 questions from the audience. So if anybody wants to have some questions, I would like to request to facilitate the mic. Okay. There's a questions from our panelist, sir.
Yes, please.
So nice to hear you, both, sir. So my question is, you have such a the global level experience for recovery, and then you and I together, we started this training of masons and craftspersons quite long ago. So in comparison to how we are doing in Nepal, what's the situation in other developing countries?
Thank you. Thank you, Rameshji, for raising this question. Yes, we started in 98 when I was at NSET. It has been quite quarter century, and we still couldn't institutionalize. But Nepal is much better off. Based on my experience in many countries, Nepal is much better off in this area. And I see we are model country in training and dissemination and diffusion of message as compared to many countries. Many countries lag far behind. And of course, I am working currently in the South Pacific, and that's one of my major messages, that until we create last mile users or actors like carpenters and vendors, engineers alone can't improve the situation, because our current formal system is very energy intensive and developing countries can't afford it. So we have to find alternative way. Our current way is not right, and Nepal is far ahead of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from audience? Otherwise, I would like to thank sir for your wonderful presentation, and we're moving towards another keynote session. Sir, would you be online? It would be nice if you're online. You can.
No, I'm online.
Yes.
I will be.
So I would like to request our second keynote speaker, Engineer Kiran Acharya, sir, for your presentations. And he will be presenting the title From Ruins to Resilience, Gorkha Earthquake 2014. Sir, your floor is yours. And we have allocated 20 minutes for the keynote presentation.
Good evening, distinguished delegates, fellow engineers, and friends. Thank you for joining this technical session on resilience from 2015 Gorkha earthquake. Thank you for NEA for inviting me for this keynote speech. Today, remaining within the framework of these questions, I'll be presenting on how Nepal learned lesson from 2015 Gorkha earthquake to build a resilient society. So, as we know, Nepal lies in one of the world's most seismically active zones, which is primarily governed by the continuous collision between the tectonic plates of and the Eurasian plates. Primarily, there are three faults which run along the length of Nepal. As we see here, the MFT, MBT, and the main central thrust. This is the fault line map which runs along the length of Nepal. So because of the locked fault segments which accumulates the strain over century, this leads to the infrequent but reasonably massive energy. Because of the many buildings in Nepal were non-engineered and older buildings, and population density focused in valleys like in Kathmandu, it further exacerbated the situation through landslides and rockfalls in Nepal. So because of all these situations, Nepal is highly vulnerable to seismic damages. As you see in the map, all the major earthquakes that happened in Nepal are along the major fault lines. We had major earthquake in 1505, which was recorded in 1505, and then it was in 1833, 1934, and we had another earthquake in 2015. So in 2015, a strong earthquake of magnitude 7.8 struck in central part of Nepal at a shallow depth of 15 kilometers. The epicenter was at the Barpak village. Approximately 77 kilometers from the Kathmandu. So the approximate dimension of the earthquake was 120 by 80 kilometers and directed from the epicenter eastwards and towards Kathmandu. In the ensuing 45 days, we had more than 500 aftershocks, and 60 of them occurred in 24 hours. And the largest of the aftershock happened after 17 days of the first one, and which was 7.3 in the moment magnitude scale. So in that event, we lost over 9,000 people, more than 600,000 homes were damaged, and approximately 8 million people were affected due to the earthquake. More than 2.6 to 3.5 million people were displaced, and 2,600 government buildings were fully damaged. Around 8,000 schools were damaged. And the estimated economic loss because of the event was around 7 billion USD as of 2015, which was roughly accounted about 1/3 of the country's GDP. So immediately after the earthquake, I conducted the field survey across the Kathmandu Valley and collected the major building damage patterns. So if you see in the photographs, the first one is the totally collapsed Dharara, and the second is the Hanuman Dhoka Darbar Square. Another one is the Darbar High School, and the lower two photos are the older building, non-engineered buildings from Bhaktapur. And in this photo, these are supposed to be the engineered buildings, relatively modern buildings with frame structure, but still these buildings were damaged. If we see in the second image, that is, the column is damaged because of the short column effect. We can see this because of the ventilation, people generally, they keep a certain part of the wall for ventilation, and because of that, the column experienced short column effect, and it got damaged. And another building, if we see, the column is totally damaged at the joint. That is because in the seismic design and detailing, we provide special shear reinforcement in the plastic zone of the column. Here, when we see in the image, there is no stirrups at all. It has very few stirrups. And that region of the column is supposed to be highly stressed during the seismic event. So this highlights the importance of providing extra stirrups in the plastic injury region of the columns. And same issue with the other buildings. And here also, if we see the soft story collapse of the building, the right one was 5-story building earlier, but now we can see only the 3 stories there. Two stories were completely collapsed, and that was because of the soft story effect. And in this building also the same, the column is damaged at the support, beam, just below the beam. So that is the plastic in zone in the column. In this image also, we cannot see any stirrups. And again, same story in the supposed to be modern buildings or engineered buildings. They are all collapsed. And if we see this in the second building also, the column is damaged at the plastic in zone. Same issue here. And if we see in this building, it is just a 2-story building relatively with very low load on top of it, but still it is damaged. The upper floor has the cantilever column, and there is almost zero load on top of the roof, but still it is damaged. This means if it is not properly detailed or properly designed, then in self-weight also the building or the component of the building might get damaged. And this is the real example of that. And this is another 7-story building that was collapsed in Kopan area. And if we see the column, the reinforcement are straight, and it seems it failed in the tensile failure. All the reinforcement are pulled out. All the lap is provided at the same location. And this is the epicenter of the earthquake, the bar park. All the buildings are converted to rubble. So from all these living example of the damage in the buildings, what we saw is earthquakes don't kill people. It is the collapsing building that kill the people. So after this earthquake, government realized that there was minimal public awareness on the need of engineered buildings in Nepal because of the lack of seismic detailing, ductile behavior, and poor code reinforcement, together with the poor workmanship, weak materials, and irregular configuration. Many buildings are highly hazardous in Nepal. So, to be resilient is to be able to withstand the future shocks by adopting good building design and construction practices, and to be able to quickly reconstruct the damage by having sufficient expertise in planning and implementation of the reconstruction process. So, the 2015 Gorkha earthquake exposed widespread non-compliance and non-engineered construction practices in Nepal. So to address this issue, Nepal first responded with systemic policy reform. As our earlier keynote speaker rightly highlighted, the need of vaccination to children to prevent from the diseases, government of Nepal understood the need of proper implementation or policy change to make safer buildings. For this, they established a special purpose institution with legal mandate for Build Back Better, the National Reconstruction Authority, in December 2015. It started the honor-driven reconstruction model where homeowners rebuild their own house. The government provides conditional cash grants of 3 lakhs per house, and the reconstruction was regularly inspected by the experts. And then they also made the course enforcement mandatory. Pre-2015, NBC, National Building Code, was there, but it was poorly implemented. But after 2015, what government did was they made some policy changes, and the compliance became a precondition for grants, building permits, and reconstruction assistance. Nationwide deployment of engineers were done so that they do on-site verification whether the building was constructed as per the seismic compliance. And also they invested heavily in the capacity building and awareness development program. The mass training of the masons, supervisors and engineers was done with the help of NSET, DUDBC and resource centers, and public awareness campaigns, plus the technical support program was done to ensure even it reaches to the rural public. And second, they felt the urgency to update the building design codes. The core seismic design code, the Nepal National Building Code, NBC 105, they started to update the building code. And the first one was in 1994, and the first major revision was done in 2020. And again, the second revision was done in 2025. From the gap from the first and second revision, what we can understand is the government is now understanding the importance of regularly updating the code for building safe building structures. Within 5 years, they have updated it to the second revision. And the first revision took more than 25 years. And again, they supported the supporting guidelines and manuals were developed with the help of DUDBC and NRA. These are the few important guidelines which the government published after 2025. The first one is the design catalog for reconstruction of earthquake-resistant houses, which is a prototype designs for honor-driven building. The second one is the repair and retrofit manual for masonry structures, seismic retrofitting guidelines of buildings in Nepal and others. They also published many thumb rules, mandatory thumb rules guidelines. This is one of the important document which they published in 2072, where they designed the type structure so that people, even in the rural region, can easily copy the design for constructing safe buildings. This is for a single-story house, and this is for a double-story house. As we can see in the design, they have highlighted the importance of vernacular architectural by using the local materials. It is not necessary that only the moment frame buildings or the steel structures has to be constructed even in the rural areas. So based on this, by following these guidelines, people could easily build or construct safe buildings for their residents. And another important step which Nepal government took for the reconstruction process after the earthquake was the establishment of Nepal Reconstruction Authority, the NRA. It was established in 25th December 2015, though it was started a little bit late, 8 months after the disaster. It was established with a vision to transform the disaster into an opportunity for a disaster-resilient Nepal, rather than simply restoring the pre-earthquake situation. And the mandate given to it was to coordinate, plan, implement, monitor, and oversee the Build Back Better reconstruction across all the sectors, like private housing, schools, hospitals, and many heritage sites. NRA successfully implemented the world's largest honor-driven reconstruction program. NRA provided conditional cash grants scheme, organized technical support system, developed policy and guidelines, and coordinated with international donors and NGOs for finance and many other technical assistance, etc. The achievement was within the short period, NRA was able to construct approximately 7,50,000 houses, which accounted for 90 to 93% of the damage by 2021, within 21 to 25. They constructed almost 88% of the schools, 65% of health facilities, and significant heritage sites reconstructed with seismic retrofit. The long-term impact was it created a trained workforce, shifted the reconstruction culture towards resilient practices, and institutionalized the build back better. So NRA was able to raise the public awareness where constructing a building is not only making rooms covered with walls. It has to be built in such a manner that it is resilient, it is safe, even during the major seismic event. And after the Jajjarkot earthquake 2023, the same ODR model was applied, but permanent housing progress has been slower due to the budget and manpower constraint. So the issue was, after the 25 earthquake, government invested heavily in capacity buildings, but still we faced problems in manpower after the reconstruction of relatively small earthquake in 2023. So that shows, are we able to retain the capacity, retain the trained technical workforce that we created, or are we ready or prepared for the future major events if we cannot retain those trained workforce or the experience that we gained after the 2015 earthquake? And these are the few buildings that was retrofitted. This is Darwara High School. The Darwara was newly constructed. This is the Barpak village, which was reconstructed after the earthquake. Earlier, I showed the image of totally collapsed building. So this means definitely Nepal government was active and public awareness was raised after 2015 earthquake, but this doesn't mean that nothing was done before 2015 earthquake. Since 1997, NSET, with the support from many development partners and bilateral donors, had been working for the implementation of Safe School program. But by 2015, around 300 schools were retrofitted, and every single retrofitted school performed exceptionally well, and many with zero damage. Significant contribution towards structural retrofitting, capacity building, and developing awareness and preparedness was done by NSET and with the aid of other developing agents, partners in Nepal prior to 2015 also. But the main issue, as I earlier mentioned, have we done enough to retain the talents? And these are the few images where the school was retrofitted by using concrete jacketing around the masonry walls, and this is the retrofitted buildings. So, the 2000 Gorkha earthquake exposed the critical vulnerability in building design and construction practices that we were adopting in Nepal. So many buildings were non-engineered, proper seismic detailing was not done. In the earlier presentation, Dr. Jitendra sir showed one simple lab test, how the simple changes in the building performed well in seismic events. So before that, all the buildings were non-engineered. The basic confinement was also not done. Because of that, almost all the village was wiped out in Barpak. And after the earthquake, Nepal rightly responded by transforming the disaster into opportunity. And because of that, it gained significantly in the capacity building, awareness, and preparedness. Good building practices are now the foundation of national resilience is without proper building permits or without following the proper seismic design guidelines, building permits are not issued by the local authorities. So people are forced to follow the design guidelines even for construction of small scale buildings. But the major problem is there are still some people in villages where they don't want to go to the authority for permits, and without permit they build the buildings and they stay. So we have to find them and treat it well. As we find, as in earlier example, we have to find people to get them vaccinated properly. We have to find such buildings and make sure that proper seismic design codes are followed. So from all these experience, Nepal possesses a greater institutional, technical, and community capacity than ever before. Good building design and construction practices are no longer optional in Nepal. They are becoming our new standard. And this ensures that we rise from the ruins that we faced from 2015 earthquake and work towards building a resilient society for to cope with or to face the future challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiran sir, for your wonderful presentation. Basically, a key message from his presentations that disaster actually doesn't kill people. It's about the high risks and high vulnerability that actually brings casualties and turns that situation into disaster. And also he has mentioned in his presentation a very clear message that to see disaster now it's happened, but to see disaster as an opportunity and take it as a platform to build back better, in which you have shown clearly like how government came up with a very technical and legal framework to stay in this slogan of build back better. And you have also shown still there is some challenges that need to be taken into care. So I think that I would like to first start with the panel. I would like to request to take seat, sir. And firstly, we will start our panel discussion. So I would like to request audience, if you have any queries, please note it down. And finally, at the end of the session, we'll start the question sessions where you can put any questions regarding our keynote speaker to Kiran sir. So now, without any delay, but till now, we're on time. Now I would like to start our panel session. Firstly, we have our three key panelists in our session. And now without any delay, I would like to start this session. Firstly, now having seeing these two key presentations, very eye-opening presentations. Now I would like to start remaining on the same ground somewhere in the experience from the Gorkha earthquake 2015. I would like to start the first questions to Dr. Ramesh sir. Basically, I would like to focus on risk assessment and lesson learned from this earthquake 2014. So the questions for you is like based on your extensive work. We all know that you have given of immense professional output in this domain. So what were the most critical risk factors exposed by 2015 Gorkha earthquake, and how has earthquake risk assessment in Nepal evolved since 2015 till now in terms of methods, data, or analysis in these terms? And other is, can you see that are we better today at identifying still high-risk building and settlement before disaster strikes? So, you know, the 2015 to till now. So this is first questions.
Thank you very much. So considering the time and without much formalities, let me directly go to the responses to the question that you asked. Number one, the Gorkha earthquake exposed many of our weaknesses not only technical, but also some social, and perhaps even our, the engineers' failure to reach to the people as well. Because almost all, 99% of the people killed by 2015 Gorkha earthquake were because of the collapse of the buildings, mostly non-engineered buildings. And that's where we failed, because engineers, we did not reach to the people. And that's what the message from Bothra sir also, in his keynote, that we failed to reach to the people, and those buildings were non-engineered buildings, they collapsed, and most of the people killed, number one. Second is, it's not only the one or two single buildings, but whole settlement in some cases, they were in such a high hazard prone zone, mostly the loose, the sediments and others. So the whole settlements in a very high risk. So that's another, the risk that was exposed by earthquake. Third is, there is a huge gap between the knowledge that we have among the engineering community to the knowledge that, who delivers the buildings, who construct the buildings, or where are the contractors, the small contractors and others. Huge gap in between those implementers and those, let's say, thinkers or even talkers that they talk in conferences. So there is a huge gap between these, the knowledge at the higher level and the knowledge at the ground. And the final exposure was, the risk was our critical facilities, like the schools, health posts, and others, not only the buildings, they were in so high risk. The earthquake was in Saturday, the off day. Otherwise, the casualty would have been much larger, because we lose so many thousands of the school buildings. So it's not only the houses, but also the critical facilities. I think those are the, the major risk factors. In terms of, how the risk assessment evolved, we already had the guidelines for, the assessment of the existing buildings, even damage assessments and others, even before the 2015 earthquake, because some of us were involved in other reconstruction, other earthquake area, and then we already felt the need that we have to have such guidelines. So we already have that. So the 2015 earthquake actually transferred that to, the more adaptation of the international codes and the guidelines to our context. So that's what I think I can say in terms of the risk assessment evolvement after that. The final part is, are we better now? Of course, we are much better in terms of understanding the risk. We have, many engineers now trained, and they know how to do the assessment, they know how to find the risk. But the problem is not the identification of risk. Understanding risk is just understanding risk. With understanding, it does not automatically reduce the risk. So to reduce the risk, we have to have the decisions made in the right place. There should be a proper enforcement mechanism, and finally, there has to be a good investment for that. Without that, understanding risk doesn't mean anything, though we are much better now. Thank you.
Thank you. Understanding risks is not the end. It's not all. So we have to have implementation. So tying up these questions of and answers reflection from Ramesh sir, I would like to move on to Professor Dr. Gorkha sir. So now, as already it's in all these keynote speak and the former panelist has mentioned that non-engineering building is the key factors that actually brought the casualties in that Gorkha 2015 earthquake. So coming to this point, because it's already has been reflected, because now our former panelist already mentioned, now we are better. He claimed that. Now my questions to you is, okay, so what do you consider the most critical engineering lessons that Nepal is still, has or has not internalized? If it's there, if lesson learned, technical knowledge that has been transformed or not. So in your experience, how did the gap between engineering knowledge and the actual construction practice that actually construct to the scale of the damage? So this is the questions for you, my side.
Thank you, Reshma ma'am. Our keynote speakers rightly pointed the scenarios of 2015 Gorkha earthquake, and Dr. Ramesh Guragai sir already mentioned. Yes, we are after 2015 earthquake, we are in better scenario in terms of knowledge to manage the risks, and we are having different guidelines. Our engineers there are so many capable engineers, they are trained. Despite that, everything is there, but despite all those things, we are lagging in the implementation part, in the production part. What rightly Dr. Jitendra Bothra mentioned, in the production part, if we move to the ground level, 2015, during 2015 Gorkha earthquake, about 600,000 buildings were collapsed. Many of those buildings, almost all, about 80% of those buildings were the low strength masonry, 1 or 2 storied. Maximum of those were stone made in mud mortar. Those are very weak and vulnerable buildings. Most people were dead, injured on those buildings. And after that, people thought that stones and mud are very vulnerable, and people do not trust mostly on those buildings. But after that, we have decided, and due to our constraints and all the materials, locally available materials we cannot abandon, we must use those materials. And if we make properly use of those materials, up to 3-story buildings can be made seismic resistance. They can guarantee life safety even during large earthquakes if we implement properly. But during 2015 Gorkha earthquake, we were able to construct about 700,000 buildings properly, and now we can say that we are in the better condition almost in 31 districts of the Nepal among 77 districts. In 2015 Gorkha earthquake, 31 districts were affected. Now, what I think is, people after that earthquake, according to 2021 scenario census, we are having 6.6 million buildings in Nepal, building stock in Nepal. Among them, majority are the low strength masonry. We have reconstructed only 700,000, 0.7 million, and rest of the buildings are vulnerable. We have learned the lesson, but after that Gorkha earthquake, we have not retrofitted most of the buildings. And in 2023 Jajarkot earthquake, before that we are having series of earthquakes in Taplejung and Baitadi, Doti, all those buildings. In those earthquakes, those low strength masonry buildings were collapsed, and still we were not able to implement our knowledge, our guidelines in the grassroots level. Most of our rural municipalities and nagarpalikas, there are, I think, about 9-10 engineers. All those engineers are knowing how to make these buildings sustain during earthquake, but we are lagging to implement rightly in the grassroots level. I think we are having owner building approach. That approach is disturbing, maybe due to different causes. Most of the people are very underprivileged on those areas, and they are not capable of investing enough amount of money to rebuild those buildings or to retrofit those buildings. But our institutional and policy scenario, we are not able to invest or to finance those house owners. That's why that whatever we learn, that very nice lesson, we are not able to materialize. And other part, in 2015 Gorkha earthquake, we have very good publications and other scenarios for the rural buildings. If we go to the urban sector, we have not financed for the urban damaged buildings. And if we go inside the Kathmandu Valley, still there we can find some buildings. People are still living on those very vulnerable buildings, and we are not able to address those buildings also. This is a very bad part of, we have not learned, I think, properly.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, very important message. Though we have everything, but nothing. Implementation gap is a very important key highlight point here from both the panelists. And also now, you have rightly mentioned those because our traditional approaches of stone and masonry, those type of buildings are there, but now people are not aware, or they are afraid of that. Maybe they are not aware, or their perception are changed because after 2050 Gorkha earthquake. Now, and you have also mentioned there's a very good technical expertise in this domain. Actually, this masonry can have a 2 or 3 stories building. Now, coming to picking up this point, I would like to go for our third panelist, because since you have a very technical expertise in this retrofitting and working with this stone masonry building, so I would like to have put queries like, so on your experience in the aftermath of the Gorkha earthquake, so how can retrofit solutions for Nepal's highly vulnerable stone masonry housing be scaled up to reach thousands of buildings? Means it's already there that it's not acceptable in local level, but what is the guideline, what is the technique, what is your experience that actually brings this implementation gap basically to this stone masonry building, how it can be moved forward? So this is a question for you, Leela.
Thank you, Reshma ji. Good afternoon, everyone. So, I mean, when we talk about a resilient Nepal, we cannot ignore stone masonry houses, because it constitutes more than 70% of the total housing stock in Nepal. As you rightly mentioned, these are very, very vulnerable houses, very heavy, but very weak. So definitely there's a lot of challenge, and the public perception towards that, they know that it's a vulnerable building. So how do we conquer that? Because we cannot escape this. More than 70% of the building stock, we cannot convert this into other forms of typology. So how do we tackle this? One, we need to build awareness that these kind of buildings can be strengthened. And how do we do that? I would really agree very much with what both sir mentioned. We need to make retrofitting less daunting. We need to standardize retrofitting processes. We need to simplify the process. When I say this, I mean, introducing more prescriptive designs, introducing tight designs, which is not applicable to one-on-one. You don't have, an engineer doesn't have to design a retrofit one-on-one, but one solution fits many. I think that is the approach that we need to take, particularly when addressing these type of houses. Another is we've seen in the areas that we're working, both post-disaster and in a preventative setting, is that homeowners are willing to spend not more than 3 lakh rupees, which is about $2,000 in this type of housing. And I don't know, if you look at a normal price of how much it costs to retrofit a typical house, it would be around 5-6 lakhs. So that's why we need to introduce incremental approach towards retrofitting this house. People cannot afford to retrofit like to the full extent at once. So we need to introduce an incremental approach. And to sort of bridge this gap, we need to see how we can trigger government subsidies as well to be able to do that. Another important point is in the Gorkha earthquake, a lot of engineers, we lacked a lot of engineers who had knowledge about how to retrofit these buildings. So I think that capacity building in that regard was done a lot at that time, but that needs to carry forward and we need to do a lot more. Another thing that we've noticed is that this kind of houses, again, it constitutes 70%, more than 70% of the housing stock. This type of buildings needs to be very familiar to engineers. It has to be included in the curriculum where they learn how to, what are the structural systems, what are the architectural aspects of these buildings, and how we can strengthen these buildings, or how to construct a new such kind of building in the first place as well. And then, at the end of the earthquake, during the end of the recovery process, there were thousands of NGOs working for new construction, but only a handful who were actually doing retrofitting work. So we sort of compiled these handful of designs that were available for retrofitting and created this retrofitting sort of a manual and on the banner of NRA, which is, that knowledge is lost right now. So that knowledge transfer from one earthquake to the other needs to happen. I think that's a very important aspect, that the resources that we, put in a lot of effort and created and tested in the 2015 earthquake needs to be carried forward in the subsequent earthquakes. I think that's a very important point as well.
Thank you, Diva ma'am. Rightly highlighted the point of incremental housing and subsidies. These are the very strong intervention and planning instrument, I would like to say. Now coming to this second round of this panel discussion, I would like to move on more broad perspective from policy, institution, and of course implementations. And I would like to start with Ramesh sir. So, as your experience, because you have been having a long professional career in this disaster, basically earthquake domain, and you have been associated yours in national NSET as well, and I just want to have queries on you, like what institutional strength and gap exist in Nepal's disaster risk management system, and how can scientific risk assessment be better integrated into government policies and decision making? And also, because you are also associated with various international organizations like GFTRR, and also you are working with various, but I would like to pick few, like University College of London. So do you see any role of these international organizations? So, and also I would like to pick, because you have worked in critical infrastructures also, so can you highlight your answers picking up basically critical infrastructure domain, because that's a very important infrastructure that need to be preserved in the during and post disaster as well.
Thank you once again. So, in my 25 years of experience in this field, in terms of the institutional strength in comparison to what it used to be in 1997-98, is we have now many more organizations involved in this sector, either from the academic institutions, private sector, consulting firms, the NGOs, INGOs, even the donors. Now there is the much more wider involvement. That's what I can say in comparison to past. The second is, especially after 2015, we have much better the policy environment. So we have the new institutions like NDRRMA, we have our code revised, many guidelines in place, we developed those. So in terms of the policy environment, we are also better. Third is, in terms of the acceptability of this idea of earthquake safety, or the acceptance by the people, that's also better in comparison to the past. So I think these are the good things. Number 4 is, we have very successful earthquake reconstruction, a global acknowledgement to that. We followed Build Back Better principle. Despite our low capacity, limited time, limited resources, and also my experience working in India or Pakistan, Indonesia, Iran, many countries for the reconstruction, we did wonderful job. So these are the good part. Okay? The second, now the gap parts in my experience is, despite all these successes, all those technical knowledge, understanding, policies, institutions in place, are we able to make all of our other schools, all the hospitals, resilient? No, we have not done it. Should there be an earthquake, again thousands of schools collapse, again the hospitals collapse, again the several hundred of thousands of buildings will collapse. So are we able to do it? No, we have not done it. So it's a matter of, again, as mentioned by Bothra sir, it's a matter of scale. So where we reached, we have many case studies, many good stories to share, and then I cross-check with Bothra sir. Nepal is good in comparison to many other developing countries, but still, it's not enough. Okay, so that's the number 2. What I can say is, the retrofitting, is it a choice for us anymore? I think not. It's not a luxury. It has to be a minimum requirement now. And then we have to combine with all these new, the technology, the digital innovations and others, that we must combine our efforts of seismic retrofit, structural part, to the comfort, to the function of the buildings, betterment of the life of the people, integrate it as a part of the regular maintenance so that we can make the whole nation resilient. So the retrofitting is not the luxury anymore, in my opinion. The final point, considering the time, is from my side, the resilience is not built by the reports that engineers like us prepare. It will be achieved only by a careful and sustainable implementation of actions in a large scale. And then it requires, perhaps those gaps that, the earthquake reconstruction experience of Gorkha earthquake could not be translated to, the Jajarkot earthquake reconstruction. We failed actually. We have to accept that because it's been many years already. We have done nothing, so we failed. So in terms of that adaptation, depending on the scale, depending on the institutional setup, how we decentralize the efforts to the provincial or the local governments, there are many things that we have to improve in that sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your reflection. Decentralization is important. And also you have mentioned implementation gap. And now coming to this implementation gap, there can be a technology, resource, many more gaps. But however, there is always already a reflection from all the panelists and that we already have enough knowledge, lesson learned, practical knowledge from Gorkha 2015 earthquake. However, it is very important to transfer that knowledge and also prepare our further manpower, and that is the where university will have a very important role. So I would like to put questions to Professor Gorkha sir, who has been involved in a long duration in the institutions, academic sector. And I would like to have questions from the capacity building and education perspective. So having this all this practical knowledge, first is how can we better integrate earthquake engineering principles, the practical experience in the academic curriculum. Even in bachelor's or vocational training is also important. And other is a very important part, as our previous keynote speaker also have rose that, okay, there's a non-engineer buildings is lots of there, but however, all those local masons and that craftsmen do have their own local knowledge, indigenous knowledge. I think that also need to be preserved and need to be transferred. So how can that be integrated in our curriculum while producing our graduate, our engineers, future engineers? So
Yes. Thank you. In my experience, I taught in engineering college 32 years. This is my 33rd year of teaching. Previously, in our curriculum, there was a very big lag, whatever we are constructing in our country and what we are delivering at the university. We are more focused on the modern materials, especially on RCC, reinforced concrete, steel, and those type of materials. Though we were having more than 70% of the national building stock with stone in, either in stone in mud or brick in mud. We have totally, our curricula, our university curricula, totally neglected those things in the past. But after 2015 earthquake, everybody realized that we must address our wealth. Buildings and other infrastructures is the national wealth. We must realize that, and we have introduced these things in our curricula. In bachelor's level and in master's level also, these are incorporated. However, there is still lag in the experimental parts. In the experimental parts, we are trying to incorporate whatever skills to a mason required, to a carpenter, or to make a building. Those type of knowledge and skills also required for the engineering graduates. Those skills are very much required for the vocational training schools also. Those people, those graduates will be directly involved in the construction and supervision of those buildings. And currently these things are incorporated in the engineering curricula, and there should be much work to be done in the experimental parts in that regard. So I think in future our graduates will understand our structures, low strength masonry structures, and I think our those whatever risk is there, we will reduce that by implementing, by incorporating earthquake resistive measures, elements on those structures. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's very important to restructure curriculum as per the need of the market or society.
Yes.
Now, coming to our final panelist, and this will be the final questions in the panel. We have now, it's very important, as Ravi sir also highlighted, digital technology part. And also the very important concept that bubble out is about the financing. So I would like to pick up these two concepts, these two terms, and would like to put on questions to you, like how can digital tools be leveraged to enhance the delivery of earthquake risk reduction from assessment and design to construction and financing in Nepal? And talking about financing, also I would like to add on one extra questions. How can microfinance institutions in Nepal be leveraged to promote safer retrofitting guidelines? Because retrofitting, these are the very much core discussion in our whole session. It's up to you.
Thank you, Reshmaji. So I was just reflecting on the session right before this where they were talking about the BIM models. So I think I would like to share a little bit about how we use technology, digital technology, to make us more efficient in terms of delivering a service, delivering our work in reconstruction. Whereas, if we use traditional method, we would be it would take us much time and resources. So we did a couple of things during the reconstruction. One, what we did was we had these technical support centers which were providing new construction and retrofit advice to homeowners. We had 34 of these technical support centers all over the earthquake affected areas, and we were able to provide more than 5,000 designs within a span of 18 months with this digital mechanism we had. So what we had was very young engineers at the technical support centers interacting with homeowners. And we had a sort of a database management system which was sort of providing them a design library. What I'm calling a design library is a library of different designs that was produced during that time. So every time a homeowner requested a design, that design would be produced. At the central level, our more experienced engineers were more, central at the center level, and they would produce the design and then add that design to the library system. And then the engineer at the technical support center would take out this design and give it to the homeowner. Now, when another homeowner requested a similar design, it didn't take any time for them to, revise the design. They could just give out that design again. So that made the process very efficient. And there was, of course, there's a lot of other things such as a dashboard, like, telling you how much, what kind of designs, how many, where have you given that designs, and how much time it took to produce a single design, which is very good for like the management. So that was there. Another place where we used retrofitting and very strongly used the BIM modeling was in retrofitting, where we did house assessments and house measurements using a mobile application called FieldSite, where we assessed the house, and then we also, there was a process of logging in measurements of the house as well, which then when the assessor reached a location where internet was accessible, this information was then synced into the database, and now anyone could take that data, and then we had a system in Revit, and using other third-party software such as Dynamo and other software, retrofitting designs were like automated. So, which a normal bespoke design would have taken a couple of weeks to prepare. Now our staff could, our engineers could produce that in in a couple of hours. So we could be very efficient in delivering that. We produce more than 500 designs in that way in a span of 1 year with very limited staffing. So this is like, I think these are examples of how we can really be efficient in terms of, and cheap in terms of delivering the similar services that would, using traditional method would have cost a lot of time and energy and resources. Yeah. And then on the part of the microfinance, so like we all discussed earlier, homeowners they are not able to afford like a full retrofit at once. So it is important that they have that full, they can reach the full retrofit level, but in incremental steps. So I would like to share an example that we are actually right now, we're working with microfinance institutions in Philippines. We haven't done that in Nepal yet, but I would like to share that examples from Philippines. What we're doing is we're working with the microfinance institutions in providing retrofitting loans to homeowners. So the way we're providing the loans is that an assessment is done on a house based on which a list of activities like a construction activities you need to do to the house is listed. And then a homeowner can then select what they want to do to the house at that point. For example, they can, at this point, only select adding a beam or adding a column based on what they can afford at that point of time. And based on that, we have a tool that produces a BOQ and how much that costs, and also a set of instructions on how you can correctly implement that. So we've created this system where microfinance officers can actually provide this service to homeowners. So that engineers are not, engineers are included in they are involved in the creation of that system, but now engineers are not needed. And homeowners get a chance to retrofit their house incrementally, and the microfinance provides the loan, so the homeowners have access to finance. So that's how we're working in Philippines, which I think is a good model that we can, test out in Nepal as well. Yeah. Just an example of how things could work for incremental work, retrofitting and financing.
Thank you for providing insight from international context as well. So now we have already have 2 rounds of panel discussion, and we are a little bit far away from time, but it's not too late still, I would like to say. But now I would like to pick 3 questions from audience in the first round. I would like to request to have questions, and please, you can mention whom your questions targeting, so that, and you can put questions to our panelists, also to our keynote speakers, and also there's a it's online, Jitendra sir, so you can have, if you want to put questions to him, he's also available online. Okay, so I would like to request for the facilitation, yes.
I would like to ask one question to the second keynote speaker. Last night we look around the Patan heritage site, and then at that site I found 2 5-story buildings. They are already built, and then supported by the Tema inclined column. No, I think it's not suitable for that type of building to support that one. That there is a very populated public area. No, is this for tourist attraction or for the actual support? I want to know that. And this is my first question. And the second question is that you have already told that in Nepal, Kathmandu, there are so many heritage buildings, and then I think most of the buildings are already retrofitted. You said. According to my understanding, is it enough for the upcoming earthquake like Gorkha, or what do you think? This is my second question.
Shall I pick one more question? Then we will. Okay, so you can proceed.
Thank you for the question. You have rightly in your first question, you have rightly pointed out this temporary support that has been provided in many heritage buildings. When we go to Bhaktapur, we can still see them in heritage buildings and in other older buildings also that has not yet collapsed but about to collapse. You rightly pointed out that's not the switchable way to preserve those buildings, and those buildings are waiting for the retrofit, and in this during this reconstruction process, the retrofitting of urban structures faced much more challenges than retrofitting of small buildings in rural areas. And in the urban structures, like you might have seen in Singadarbar, major heritage site like Hanuman Doka and Kastamandap, those are already retrofitted. But those are, I think those are in pipeline and they are waiting for the, to retrofit, to be retrofitted. So definitely that's not the right way, and that is not the final solution also that has been provided. And sorry, can you repeat your second question, please?
Second question is, I saw so many very beautiful heritage building in Kathmandu, and then I feel that you have already, you told that most of the buildings are already retrofitted after the Gorkha earthquake, but I think it is enough for the next upcoming earthquake or not yet. I want to know
yes.
that.
Yeah, and going to the already retrofitted buildings, we have proven examples of retrofitting of the school buildings that I already earlier mentioned also in my presentation. Those school buildings which were retrofitted prior to earthquake were completely safe, and most of them were having zero damage. Almost 95% of them were having zero damage. So when we correlate the newly retrofitted buildings, these were most of these older, the heritage sites were non-engineered, but still though we can see most of those buildings are intact even during those earthquake, and those buildings which were retrofitted, those should be able to withstand the future shocks, and that has already been proven by many retrofitted school buildings also. So these retrofitted heritage buildings, they definitely they will withstand the future shocks. All the they are retrofitted by following the proper code guidelines like American retrofitting code, and based on that we developed many retrofitting guidelines in Nepal for the heritage buildings also. Those are jacketed, and the weaker point. And while to retrofit those buildings, what we generally do is we identify the inherent weakness in those buildings, and we try to treat those buildings. So definitely they are safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. So I request to have 3 questions from the floor, and please we will give the answers collectively.
Hello.
Thank you.
My question goes to, by the way, I'm Engineer Kishore Jha, and during the 2015 earthquake, I was the General Secretary of Nepal Engineer Association, so quite involved in the initial stages of these activities. Now my question goes to our first keynote speaker, Dr. Jitendra Bothra. Your idea that earthquake issues should be taken as a public good, I think it is well accepted. We cannot contradict that or contest that. Your example that it should be treated as a public health, similar to public health, is also quite accepted. But the question is how we go about it from now. And particularly what we have heard, especially from Ms. Liva Shrestha, informing what the resources that we have generated in NRN, particularly the 5,000 design and all the digital library and all those things. So now we have got all those resources, all those knowledge and all those experiences. So now can we I'm asking you this question with the intention that maybe it will be a part of our proceedings, put it up to the government that, okay, we have done so far and these are our experiences. Now we should go about it and go about it with the consent of this international community also, so that we may have some strong, strong push that we can give. And I will again request the former CEO of Nepal's National Reconstruction Authority to also put this question of mine in your concluding speech so that we can put it forward. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Can I, ma'am?
Yes.
Namaste, everyone. My name is Engineer Bikram Kumar Das. I am a civil and environmental engineer by profession. And I have a question for former CEO of NRA, Mr. Sushil Gewali. It has been said that the new Dharara looks like modern Seto Tower than a true heritage reconstruction. As mentioned by the present Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Balen Shah, looking back, do you think the project balance heritage and modern project well? Thank you. That's my question.
There anybody third questions from the audience? Then we'll start our answer session. Yes, anybody? So I would like to request first Jitendra sir, would you like to answer the questions from our Jha sir? Are you audible? Are you listening? The mic, it's mute. So you are muted.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay, now I will talk. More than a question, I have a comment. We all engineers love talking about engineering and technology. And we extensively talked on technology and engineering in this session for the last 2 hours or something like that. But to me, when I look back and look at the disaster and in addition to engineering, the communication and socio-cultural dimensions are equally important. Why should a house owner trust me? How big expert I am, it doesn't matter. Why should he trust me? If I cannot communicate to him, understanding socio-cultural dimensions. And so when we talk about seismic safety or any disaster safety, it is equally important to talk about socio-cultural dimension and then communication skills. And engineers are terribly bad in communication skills. And I'm not talking about Nepal, it's a worldwide, wherever I have worked, maybe in more than 24 countries or so. And sometimes I think the people we trained after 2015 earthquake, they not only learn engineering skills that are conducive to Nepalese environment, they also learn communication and socio-cultural context and how to talk to people. And unfortunately, we lost these people. So we only didn't lose the engineering skills, we lost their softer skills also. That's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Jha sir, have you got the answer from Jitendra sir?
Sorry. May I add to Jhaji Jain sir? May I add to Jhaji Jain sir?
Yeah, Jha sir's questions.
Okay. May I add to his answer?
No, I'm satisfied because.
Okay.
But what I have to say is that we have to read between lines what you are saying. Thank you very much. Anyway.
Yes, sir. So now I would like to answer the questions.
Yeah, just for the the questions by the first the participants, I want to make it clear. Number one is that the props to high-rise buildings. It's mainly because of the risk perception of the people. So structural engineer, we feel that there is very high risk, but people living in that building itself may not feel they are in very high risk. So it's a matter of the risk perceptions, and then you can see, despite all these successes, we have huge problems here, number one. Second is, in terms of the heritage, we have not retrofitted heritage. We reconstructed, so the reconstructed one are definitely better, but still we use the, the traditional way of the reconstruction, and especially for our heritage, they are already resilient by many elements, so that's why they are much better. But the remaining one, there are many other heritage which were not collapsed by Gorkha earthquake, will definitely get collapsed in the next one. So we are not resilient, and we have to retrofit many of those heritage also. Thank you so much. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
I think now we are in the closing session. The questions regarding your questions to Sushil sir, he will be
You have in the so late night, you have been been there and then hearing all the presentations and the discussion that we are making here. Thank you so much for your passion and also your support, to us, to Nepal, also continuously, since a long time back. I heard about the panelists, and the Resmaji did a wonderful job for the moderations, and all the participants are waiting since a long time back, whole day, and then having a passionate event in this sort of the later the evening and the afternoon. Actually, today's this panel discussions really made me somehow the nostalgic also. I remember the National Reconstruction time, the days at that time when I was joining and the Reconstruction Authority, and then it was almost around eight months already late, and the people were really waiting for the assistance. And then they were waiting, especially assistance in the financial resources, but at the same time, without ensuring the system, without ensuring the technical sort of the standard in the houses, without ensuring in the future the houses without being the earthquake resistant and the resistant from all sort of the other potential disaster in the future, we are not in a situation to start the reconstruction. That was the situation. But we did establish the system, we did establish the institution through which we really did the reconstruction recovery work, whatever we could do within the timeline. It was very hard at that time to make understanding about that the financial resources alone will not give the solution. We need to have the technical assistance. This Bothra sir was just mentioning about the socio-political dimension, the cultural dimension. Without having that properly addressing on the system, it was not possible to rebuild the houses. So that was actually the challenging job that we had. But we did that, and through a systematic approach, through a systematic sort of the whole sort of process, we had been able to rebuild the houses. Just I have one sort of the memory at that time. I remember almost around 7 to 8 days. For that time durations, there was the parliament was stopped, requesting that the money has to be distributed immediately. We would like to get it through the helicopters in the different rural villages, and we would like to give the money. I was telling in the political system that it is not possible, because we will be providing the money through the helicopter or in the cash, but it will create another level of disaster. Disaster in the sense that creating the huge problem on the transparency. That was the issue. And then we had been able to convince to the political system we should have a certain level of patience, and this is a plan how we will be going. We developed the post-disaster recovery framework, PDRF. We gave a timeline, and then we gave how we are going to develop this, the reconstruct the whole of the system. We did that, and then through that system, we was able to do that. At that time, as Jitendra Bothraji and the panelists, they were mentioning that at that time, actually, one thing that was important is the understanding the disaster itself, understand the earthquake and its impact. We did that to a certain level, the political system they understood. Because of the earthquake itself was made them to understand that. Everyone would understood that we should have whatever the buildings that will be developing, the houses being reconstructed, the restored, they should be resistant to the earthquake and also other potential disasters in the future. So that understanding was there. But at the same time, together with all the people, I remember the NSET people and also all the technical people, engineering community, we came up with the science and engineering, what the Jitendra Bothraji was mentioning. We did that, we are having the science and the technology that we developed. And then later on, we also developed the tools, the standards that was needed. And we were having the building catalogs, and also we were having the different sort of standards that we developed. And then through that system, then we're having equipped with that. Later on, we have to deliver that. How to deliver. That is the Bothraji was mentioning. That is most important. How to deliver, how to have the system in place. So for that, actually, we need to reach to the people. The communication was very important. And then for that, what we did, instead of doing the things from the central level, we decentralized that. We localized the overall sort of reconstruction activity, and then we did a system in a way that all the activities, all the support, whatever that is to be provided, will be through the ward level, even not in the municipal level, even to the ward level. So we deputed all the engineers to the ward level. And through that, they were in the contact with the people. They were having the direct sort of connection with the people. It was not only technical assistance that we provided through the engineers, but we're having the social sort of the social mobilizers who work together with the engineers. Because that has to be understood by the people, and it was a owner-driven model. So for that, the people understood that through the social mobilizers, they were able to give a communication properly to the people, so that the engineers were in the back, and then they were in the situations later on in the front side to support the whole sort of the technology transfer to the people. People should understand, and then it was the owner-driven modality, and then we did that. That means the Bothra sir, whatever you mentioned, I think you are completely right, and then the system is very important. And for this, actually, like the public health, you are mentioning that the prevention is better than cure. Yeah, that we always talk about this in the health system. But similarly, the preventive measures are really important. That is to be applied. That we should have the system in the future that we need to do. So for that, actually, what to do in the future, and then how we can really institutionalize the reconstruction knowledge and the experiences that we had, and then how we can deliver in the future. I think that is one of the major sort of the issue at the moment, and it is also a challenge for us. Actually, I'm sometimes so much worried when I come in such the forum. We did in an international level the knowledge, the expertise, the experiences in the global scale that we did. It was one of the largest reconstruction and recovery that we did in the world. Yeah, that we did, and Nepal has that capacity. We all did that. It's not only, I got an opportunity to lead the massive scale of the initiative. That was an opportunity for me, but all the communities, the engineers is the forefront, but at the same time, the communities, political system, government, everyone that we did, and we were succeeded on this. But the point is, the institutional memory on that. Actually, sometimes we have to think how we have to go in the future, in the further. Reconstruction Authority was established, but we abolished as per the Sunset Act. Later on, the transfer of the knowledge and the expertise and the level of this, the management capacity, these all, whatever that was there in the Reconstruction Authority was not properly, I see, not in that scale that was transferred properly. Or later on, it was not understood in the political level properly. Actually, I remember in the second international conference that we did, the transferring the knowledge, and then the ICNR 2 that we did, and then where all the international communities, they wanted to support on that. Even they proposed to support on the technical assistance as well. I remember the time that we have allocated certain amount of the resources, the financial resources, for the seismic impact assessment, the structural impact assessment for all the houses, all the health facilities and the schools of the country. And then the retrofitting technology that we had, we already invented that, and then we have a very good technological guidelines were also there. It was only to implement that. Yeah, and then the money was there. But later on, actually, it didn't happen. It was really a sort of this, the lacking that we had, that we couldn't be able to do that. Yeah. So for this, what to do in the future, and then what's the recommendation that we should have. I think as per the discussion that we have, the conclusion that we came up today, maybe one of these, the major sort of the aspect that is to be considered is that we should have one very strong and autonomous institution. That is our experiences. Reconstruction Authority was the entity which was chaired by the Prime Minister and was coordinating on all the ministries and the institutions. We should have that. There was a proposal already submitted during the time of the Eisenhower II. It is to be implemented. I think that is the thing that we have to do. We all have to lobby for that. Jha sir has just mentioned that you are completely right. Now, I really would like to request to the Nepal Engineers Association, this is the right forum, because we know this, that and what are the solutions that we have, we know that, and then it is our responsibility, the engineering community responsibility, that to implement that, to lobby for this, to advocate for that. I think I really request to the NEA, the leadership and all the, including myself, together, all these communities, I think we have to lobby for this to the government and to the political level, because we need the special entity, very strong entity, which can really deliver, which can coordinate in all the three levels of the government, at the same time, all of the departments and the ministries together. That's the one thing that is important. And the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority is to be strengthened, is to be autonomous, has to lead in the highest level. I think that's the one precondition which was also concluded in the international conference as well, also with the institutional memory that we have, and then documented we need to do this. Second one is this, at that time we prepared the National Disaster Resilience Framework, NDRF 2030. I think it's already 2026 already. So that was not implemented. I think we need to have this framework, all the framework that was designed, we have to update, and that is to be implemented. I think that is the second thing that we have to do. Third, we have to recognize the local governments. We have to recognize the federal system. At that time, when the reconstruction started, at that time there was the federal system, but the provincial government was not there. Local government was there. I remember the time when we made the signing with the household level. I didn't do, engineers themselves could do, but I didn't do that. There was a lacking, almost around 100 BDCs, there were not any BDC secretaries. But we appointed that, we asked the government to do that, and then they made the agreement with the household level. The concept was that this reconstruction has to be decentralized. We are going to federal system, we have to strengthen the local government. So local government are the key entities. As per the constitution, what is the role of the local government? Housing, giving the building permit is the local government role. The small schools is the local government role. Health facilities and the community infrastructure are the local government role. Most of the disaster or the loss that is there in the local government the function. So we have to strengthen the local government, strengthen the capacity, strengthen the human resources, strengthen the institutions, and also give the financial resources. And then what we do? We are in the federal government, where the resources is there, we would want to do the implementation. No, we have to provide the resources to the local government, provide the technical support to the local government, and the local government should be in the key positions, in the leading positions for the whole recovery work. We have to do that. Localizing the DRR is the key at the moment that we have to do. Fourth thing, actually, the delivery system. I think ultimately whole framework to be designed, and then we have to have the delivery system through which we'll be supporting the local governments. This all we have the course, we already did the code. We have this retrofitting code as well. Standards have already been developed. The thing is that we have to deliver. I think Jitendra Bothraji is completely 100% this is true, and then he has given a very key message today. I think I completely fully agree on that. And another point is actually retrofitting program. We have to have the structural impact assessment of all the buildings in whatever level, maybe random sampling, whatever level, and give the solution. We have the solution, we can provide that. If you see the restorations of all the monuments in the Kathmandu Valley, if you see that, then the retrofitting is the technology, that we did. And then that was with his stand. Singatarbar itself is the case also that we have. And we are fully, we all confident that it can work, and that is working. So that's why we have this technology. The thing is that how to deliver on that. And then for this, we have to have this whole sort of system to be developed, and then we have to do this. Another point, I will not take much time, but another point I think that we have to do is the building the human resources. That is very important. We have a certain human resources, but we were dispersed. And then we are not in a situation to mobilize those in the Jajarkot earthquake. And the Jajarkot earthquake, I think what we did, we started doing the things in the central level. If we had been giving the responsibility to the local government level, and then we all, towards the supporting to those local government level, the things would have been made better. So that is another level of this gap. But building the human resources, I think there are the different level of the human resources. One is the technical level, technician level, the local masons are like that. And second is the engineering community. More and more sort of technologies are to be invented. We have to work. And then the universities and the CTVT sort of the thing is to be have that. Financing mechanism is another key. I think government has to take a responsibility on that. You have a certain sort of a financial sort of a system to be established. For this, maybe the subsidized loan or something like that, or certainly the subsidy integrated for the retrofitting system can also work. So I think we have to use the new technology, especially the AI, the information system, the digital system. I think can give a solution for to manage the larger scale of this of the recovery work or the disaster management work that we can do. So without taking much time, it's really good. I think I really enjoyed today. I think thank you so much for inviting and giving me a chance to chair this session today. And I also would like to thank to all the panelists and also to Reshmaji for coordinating and moderating this in a very fantastic level. And also Jitendra Botradi, especially that from Australia. Sorry, what are the questions that you had? Two things, yeah? Hello, yes. The Dharara, I think, anyway. So what I would like to tell you, I think I would not like to go to the debate. But the point is why we rebuild the Dharara. I think I would like to give the scenario at that time. What are the story at that time? Actually, we all were having the feeling that we lost. When the Dharara was collapsed, at that time, we all felt that our pride has been collapsed, isn't it? It was not only a monument. It was a pride of the nation. Yeah, it is the identity of the Kathmandu Valley, identity of the nation. Yeah, from anywhere when you land from the plane, an aeroplane, you see the Dharara. Yes, my Kathmandu, our pride that is there. When I came in the first time in Kathmandu, my ambition was in the Kathmandu to climb the Dharara, to see the Dharara. I didn't climb the Dharara because I don't know why, but that was a pride for us. Yeah. So we have to revive that pride so that we'll be having a huge confidence enough. Yes, we did that. Yeah, that was also, it was related with the spirit. Yeah. So that's why we decided that we have to rebuild this. So while rebuilding this, it was not possible only with the mud mortar. Yeah, that was the situation. That's why we decided, okay, let's do with the same architecture, same styles, and also at the time of the Bhimsen Thapa. Not later on, but at the time of the Bhimsen Thapa. It was we went to 21 stories. Later on, it was the 19 stories during the sunset time. So we did that, and then we decided on that. So we rebuilt. Now, whoever will call that in whatever way, they would like to understand, it's fine. I think it is a choice. I think we can understand how we want to see the Dharara, in which level, in which way. I don't have any comment on this. But the point is, we did that. It was also reviving the pride of the nation, pride of the total people. Yeah, that was the objective of building that. And then on that, what we did, we have the two things that we have, which is to be done, I think that is lacking. One, in the Dharara, what we're having, let's use the technology, and then let's have the videos, this all, and then so that will be a cultural center of the country, where in the different stories we'll have the different, because we have the huge ethnic groups and the languages and the cultures. For all the 19 floors, let's have the different culture so that it will give the feeling of the unity of this country. Every people will have the pride that this is our culture. These are our culture. The diversity is our strength. So that will give the feeling on that. That is to be done. That is still yet to be done. And second thing, if you see the dome-sized museum, the point is actually whatever that we did in our generations. Yeah, this is the work that we did. It is our generation effort. So what we have to propose there are the 4 chambers that are there. One is the Mint Museum on the lower side, when the upper side is the Earthquake Museum. So the first chamber will be giving the feeling that at the same, we have now technology, you have to feel, maybe when sitting there, you will feel the vibrations also of the earthquake, and also have all sort of the videos that going on the Boisak Bara, April 25. The same sort of situation the people can feel. That's the first. And second chamber, the relief and rescue, how he did, what the people that they did at that time, and what are the situations, how that was overcome. I think we all were in the street, yeah, and then the not being able to go inside in the buildings, in the houses. So giving that feeling of the rescue and relief operation that we did with a certain period of time. And the third chamber is the reconstruction and recovery, how we did on that, and the videos and the different set of the memories to be placed on that. And the fourth chamber, how we are planning this national disaster resilience framework, something like that, how we are planning for the future, what we really learned, what we have to do as a citizen, what we have to do for the country, for having our whole lifestyle, whole governance system, whole mechanism, disaster resilience, how we can have to have that. Because we cannot deny on the disaster. The earthquake is inevitable, that is there, that is beneath our earth, that is there. So we have to make ourselves that prepare for that. So how we can prepare, I think the fourth chamber will give with the learnings that when they come out, then okay, our ancestors, it will be maybe after 100 years, they will feel our ancestors did that, they were in that level, there was an earthquake and this sort of disaster, and then later on we have been able to come up with a disaster resilience country in such a way. Maybe that feeling to give that is the museum. I think it is also our role also to establish that and how we can work together. Let's work together. With this, I will not take much time. Thank you so much, the patience that we have in this session. I really again congratulate and then thanks to all the panelists. Thank you, Bothraji. I have seen you after a long time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to add few points related to the question related to Dharara, the Seto Tower, what you called. From a layman perspective or from common people, they say it is a Seto Tower when they compare to other heritage building, right? But from technical point of view, what we have to understand is any tall buildings to be stable during seismic event has to have a lateral load resisting system. Dharara was built hundreds years back, and it is a masonry building in Surhi mortar, right? It doesn't have any lateral load resisting system. And to construct any building of this height, it has to have some lateral load resisting system. That means either it should have framing system or shear wall or dual system. So if we follow the same conventional method of construction, either we have to construct it again and wait for another earthquake to get it collapsed. So we are not building it again so that it could collapse in another earthquake. When we build it, it has to be safe for hundreds of years. So it has to be designed and constructed by using modern technology, but it could have been a little bit slender, to resemble its original size. It could have been done even with modern technology and to resemble the heritage construction. What we could have done at best was to cover around it with, brick masonry in Surhi mortar. Again, that has to be provided with some intermediate bands, horizontal and vertical bands. So it has to be stable, and structurally, it has to be built with modern technology. As a common people, all your comments are welcome, and we truly appreciate it, because they do not understand how a tall building will be designed and constructed. So definitely, Dharara, what is built, has to be built in a safer way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all the experts. Now it's time to present token of love to the session experts. I'd like to call the Engineer Subhash Chandra Baral, President of Nepal Engineers Association. I would like also to call Dr. Uday Pratap Singh, Secretary General ASEC. And also I would like to call Engineer Dhruva Raj Thapa, past President of Nepal Engineers Association, to present the token of love. And also I would like to call our executive member Priyanka Gupta and staffs to facilitate. Mr. Sushil Gewali, the session chair. Mr. Kiran Acharya, keynote speaker. Dr. Ramesh Guragai, panelist. Dr. Gokarn Bahadur Motra, panelist. Livas Resta, panelist. Dr. Resma Srestha, moderator of the session. Thank you, sir and ma'am. Now we are about to end the conference today. Thank you. Now we are about end of the conference today. Distinguished guests and delegates, I would like to call our sponsor to receive the token of love. Cosmic Electricals. Cosmic Electricals. एक, दुई, तीन, चार, पाँच, छ जना। आयो? Representative from Nepal Electricity Authority. Asian Paints. Nepal Electricity Authority. Representative from Asian Paint. Hydro Village. Flowell Energy India Private Limited. Royal Tulip. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Uh, Almost now we are about to end of the conference today. Now I would like to call Vice President of Nepal Engineers Association for his closing remarks for the conference. Before that, I would like to inform all the distinguished guests and engineers. We have arrangement of high tip. Please feel free to have it before leaving the hotel. Also, I would like to respectfully leave from the today program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay sir. Good evening, Dr. Uday Pratap Singh, Secretary General, ASEC, esteemed presidents and representatives of all ASEC member economies, honorable members of Parliament, fellow engineers, international delegates, and guests. As we conclude this momentous day, I am filled with a sense of immense pride and optimism. We have navigated dense and productive agenda, covering everything from operationalizing sustainable infrastructure to the cutting-edge discussion on building information, modeling BIM, and digital transformation. The insights shared during the technical session, particularly regarding digital innovation for heritage preservation and retrospective on the 2015 Gorkha earthquake, have reinforced our collective mission to build infrastructure that is not just functional but enduring and resilient. I would like to extend a special note of appreciation to our young professional. Your energy during the RISE seminar proves that the future of Asian civil engineering is in capable, innovative hands. To our international delegates, your presence has transformed this conference into a truly global exchange of ideas. We hope the connections forged here in Kathmandu will lead to lasting partnerships. On behalf of the organizing committee and the NEA, I thank our sponsors, the ASEC Secretariat, and every participant for your dedication. It is through this spirit of engineering excellence that will truly operationalize the change our society needs. I now formally declare the closure of international conference. I wish our international guests a pleasant stay in Nepal. Thank you.